This is the Final Word Daily, the Australia-India Daily, that flavour of daily, the Jeff Lemon and Adam Collins flavour, the beautiful Melbourne day, gorgeous day 4 at the Melbourne Cricket Ground. The show is brought to you by Maurice Blackburn, the #1 plaintiff law firm in this country.
Damn straight.
In this country, #1. They're #1 for a reason. You got any legal issues, you talk to them. Right. We had a day test cricket. Fair bit was in it, as we like to do on this show. All of it condensed into 30 seconds. Adam, what do you got?
India added 11 runs to their overnight tally. They were 105 runs behind on the second half as the second half of the test match started. Australia started with Constance being knocked over by Bumrah in a sign of things to come. Then Labuschagne consolidated briefly with Khawaja, who looked sketchy. He was eventually knocked over by Siraj with a beauty. Labuschagne batted nicely, but with the support of Smith falling with a cavalier shot, it prompted a dramatic collapse. Bumrah going bang, bang, bang. I think it was 4 for 11 at one stage. Australia's lead still in the 190s. Like, recovered via Labuschagne and Cummins putting on a crucial 57 either side of tee. And then, just for laughs, 55 unbeaten for the 10th wicket between Lani's 41 and Boland, who's 10 from 59 balls, gets him a lead of 3-3-3 at the close. We come back tomorrow with all the results on the table.
That felt like 42 seconds, I reckon. Yeah. I think you've got into some detail there. Somebody can tell us in the comments how close you were and how close my guess was. Now, today, strange sort of day, interesting sort of day. It surged, it went one way, it went the other way, and there were moments. There was that the Bumrah tear through the middle where it was like, holy shit, this is all flying in one direction. And then Australia haul it back, and then it starts to go that way again, and then they haul it back again. There was entertainment. I mean, from the start, where I liked the fact that Tish Kumar Reddy came back out and was like, I'm going to keep attacking Nathan Lyon, I'm going to keep trying to be sensible about strike rotation and so on. Siraj can have strike when the spinner's on, that kind of thing. They were trying to work it out. They didn't add heaps, but there was enough sort of intelligence and consideration about how to go about that. Got out trying to hit a 6 off Lyon down the ground. So that aggression that we've seen from him from innings 1 in Perth, where he's like, the spinner I'm comfortable against, the spinner I'll do that. And then, Australia's, there was so much anticipation, I guess, about Constance coming out and facing Bumrah and would he do it again? And no, he didn't try to do it again. He played a bit more sensibly, a bit more normally. But then what the hell do you do against that delivery? That was one of the least playable balls I think I've seen watching cricket. It starts outside the off stump. It knocks leg stump out of the ground. He's coming forward to play basically the correct line for it coming back in somewhat. But it just did so much off the surface, and it wasn't like it hit a crack or something. It just jagged. I mean, it was jagging a lot for all of the quicks at different times early in that session. But my word, that ball from Bumrah, when he would have been frustrated, he'd gone past the edge a bunch of times with Khawaja and so on, and then just produces that absolutely special ball to knock over his young rival.
Yeah, he did, and it wasn't the last time that Bumrah would bowl balls today that would leave your mouth agape, because that's what he does. He advances to 200 test wickets today at an average of under 20. No one's done that, ever.
He was at 19.4 when he got his 4th wicket in that spell.
And look, there have been bowlers that have had lower averages in the 19th century, but none of them ended up with more than 200. So this is an extraordinary achievement. His average away from home's 19, which I think jumps out as well. Think about historically how much more difficult it is to take wickets when you are away from home. Well, he's done it there, he's done it here, he's done it everywhere. He's the best bowler I've ever seen live, I think. Certainly the best seamer I've ever seen live. You can bounce around with different bowlers you've seen at different points in their careers, and the high water mark of someone like Mitchell Johnson in 13-14 is an obvious reference point there. We've seen Rabada on days feel utterly unplayable. Dale Steyn at the peak of his powers. Glenn McGrath, the way that he bowled in tandem with Shane Warne and others in that remarkable Australian generation, covering a lot of Jimmy Anderson's career as well. But Bumrah is the best of all of them combined, and he's relentless, and he's versatile, and he bowls at both ends, and he bowls your one-over spells when he needs you to, and he's got the Midas touch, and he does it with a smile on his face. And it's the release point and all the other biomechanical things that get raised all the time, all of that working in concert. When he gets on one, that's what I'm building to here, when he gets on one, he feels just impossible. And that's, to an extent, what played out in that middle stanza there. So from overs 33 until 36, 33 is when Smith gets out. There's a culpability there, I reckon. So it's 3 for 80 when Smith gets out.
Yep.
My instinct is that Smith because they batted quite nicely after lunch. And he only made 13 himself, but Labuschagne was getting the running going. And my feeling is that Smith thought they were maybe 50 runs further ahead than they actually were. And by opening the door, they were waiting to bring Bumrah back. There was no urgency after lunch to get Bumrah into the attack. They were waiting for the right time. It was almost always going to be if they were able to burgle a wicket, then he got straight back into it. And Smith played a shot that would have been scarcely recognisable in the first innings when he was a model of concentration. Well, he has been the last 2 weeks in the first dig. But here, a shot with, his hands and his bat not in the same postcode as his pads. And I get it. He's trying to move the ball along third innings, trying to avoid that pickle theory that Daniel Norcross talks about by scoring in a positive way. But that opened the door to what Bumrah later did, which proved to be what felt like it was going to be the decisive passage of the day. Until, weirdly, maybe the decisive passage was right at the end. As conflicted as I felt about Australia batting through, the way they ended up doing it and collecting 14 runs in Bumrah's final over of the day, can you believe it? 333 lead, that absolutely changes the dynamic of this.
Well, so I think if we wind back a bit to where you're talking about opening the door, Siraj was able to do that first with Khawaja, and Khawaja had been dropped off Akash Deep around the corner at leg gully. Like, you've got to be expecting a catch when you're at leg gully.
It was Jaiswal.
Yeah, it was Jaiswal, and Rowan was furious with him, and Akash Deep was furious because he looked like he wasn't really ready for it. It almost hit him in the hands, and he was like, oh, but it came quickly. And they're like, you're at leg gully, you're a catching position. You're not run saving out there. You are there for that shot. You're there for a flick. So Khawaja's still there, and we've talked about, Siraj, who bowled so well last time they came out here, has struggled a bunch, had a big none for at Brisbane and went for 100 and all the rest of it. He bowls a really good ball to Khawaja where I don't know if it was such fine margins that I'm not sure if you could call it a deliberate setup, but maybe it was a natural variation setup where he went across him and across him and across him for a couple of overs. He was seaming the ball a lot, and he was pitching it a bit fuller. Akash Deep was seaming it a lot but pitching it that bit too short, and it was beating the edge. Siraj was going fuller and still beating the edge. And then that over, he has 4 of those that go across, and then he has one that just pitches a little bit closer to the leg stump and a little bit fuller, maybe a foot fuller. And it was just enough that Khawaja misses it as it decks back in this time and knocks him over. And then he bowls the wide tempter to Smith, who drives it and nicks it. And so Siraj gives Bumrah the chance to then come in and hammer them.
What a competitor, Siraj. You can see by the way he responded with the shush motion. I think he was doing it to square leg umpire at one point, but that's neither here nor there. He wants to be
very chippy at square leg.
Yeah, and he does.
Michael Goff's just sledging you it.
He did take none for heaps the first time around. But remember, this guy picked up, I think I'm right in saying, all of Australia's top 7 in the first 3 innings of this Test series. Took 3 for in both digs at Perth. Played an important role there. And I felt like after having the new ball taken away from him, Akash Deep opened up today, not Siraj. That lit a fire under him. That might have been good leadership, saying, And then the ball to knock over Khawaja, that's the second time in the series he's been bowled with one hand off the bat. It was a terrific ball. Hitting the top of off, doing that much, as you say before, Jeff, pitching leg, and then hitting the top of off is almost perfect for a seamer over the wicket to a left-handed batter. So, Siraj getting into it there. Then the bowler who picks up Stephen Smith with that shot that I mentioned before, and then coming back to get Labuschagne. He could have got him a couple of times. He chapped Labuschagne on the crease at one point. He was saved by umpire's call, one I thought was out to the naked eye. And then he gets him with an almost identical delivery about 30 runs later. So he eventually wins their battle.
Call, but he gets it going his way that time. And then the Bumrah bit comes on, and Bumrah had bowled so well for 1 wicket at that point, right? Like he deserved probably 3 or 4 and could have taken 6 or 7. Like, the ball was doing so much. I know we sound like we're just pumping him up needlessly at this point. We're not actually being hype merchants. That ball was jagging off the seam ridiculously. Like, he was too good not only for batters but for himself. He couldn't get wickets because it was doing too much. And then he gets Travis Head with a relatively innocuous straight one flicked in the air to mid-wicket. Travis Head's on one, gets off the pair but not by much, and he's claimed at mid-wicket. And then he gets Mitchell Marsh 4 balls later in the same over. Nasty ball, climbing, moving away, edging it. And the 2 in the over, just the whole ground lit up at that point. Yeah,
in a way, I wish he had have got the 200th wicket with another ball, because the Head shot is effectively batter error, clipping to square leg before he was set.
Shot.
Head the quintessential boom bust merchant, and I think that's fine. Like, you and I have talked about this on the show. Like, that's the roller coaster you were going to go on with Travis Head. He was match winning in Adelaide. He would have been probably match winning at Brisbane if not for the rain. And here he misses out in both innings. He's just as likely to make 100 in 100 balls next week when we go to Sydney. Different story for Marsh. I got a message in one of my group chats saying, "What on earth is Marsh thinking?" Well, he's thinking trying to get bat on ball to a bloke bowling 145, moving it both ways off the seam, having picked up a wicket already in that over. It's a nightmare.
It's off the shoulder. It almost comes off the top of the shoulder of the bat.
It's a nightmare.
Because of the bounce.
Facing Bumrah in a mood like that. When he's on a tear, when he's on one, every ball just feels like the biggest event going. And you're right about the movement he's generating. Like, yes, it's the accuracy. Yes, it's the pace. Yes, it's the release point. All those things that always come up. But he's legit moving it both ways. The control he has. Like most great fast bowlers have their great stock delivery and a variation. I'm not even sure I entirely know what Jasprit Bumrah's stock delivery is. Like he moves the ball away from the right-hander and back towards the right-hander and vice versa to lefties with such regularity that, and this isn't wobble seam either, this is like prodigious movement. This isn't subtle movement. This is jagging. And it is a nightmare to face him. And the ball that he bowls to Carey through the gate might even be better than the Constas ball, right? I mean, they're both such great deliveries. And Carey, who's been in really good form down at number 7, I think there's a case from going up to number 6. We'll come to that in a sec. It's going to take something pretty good to get Carey at the moment, and to do it so comprehensively, to end that run, as I say, they were 6 for 91. And they lost wickets at 80, 85, 85, 91. I was on commentary for that 20 minutes or so, and it genuinely felt like the world was caving in for Australia. It took an awful lot from Cummins and Labuschagne to get things back on track in their stand of 57. But in that moment in time, in that brief Bumrah spell, 3 overs, 3 for 1, you're rarely going to see anything better than that in Test cricket.
Yeah, so they're 190-ish in front at that point, and you're thinking, well, if India keep it to 220, they should be favourites to chase that. If Australia get it to 260 even, it suddenly seems much more even. And I felt like if Australia got it to 280, say, they would be ahead. So they end up to have the Cummins-Labuschagne partnership, which goes on for a fair while. Cummins makes 41 to go with 49 in the first innings. Like, hell of a test match already, given how well he bowled. It was during some difficult times when India were batting as well. And then, they have the Labuschagne gets out, caught LBW on the back pad flap when his leg was low, and so he's given. They have the misunderstanding with Stark and Cummins, and Stark gets run out and is annoyed about it. And then somehow the Lyon Boland thing just came out of nowhere. They were 278 ahead when Lyon and Boland get together at 9 down.
Yeah, just to back over a couple of those points, I thought Labuschagne, he was lucky at times today. We mentioned the LBW bits and bobs, the drop catch from Jaiswal, which was the middle of the 3. So he put down Khawaja around the corner, which you described earlier on. The one in the gully was a bad one. And Rohit Sharma carrying on too, I don't know about that. I mean, I'm just not sure that's sending the right message to a young player. No one intends on dropping a catch. Everyone's frustrated when a catch goes down, but to gesticulate the way he did and kind of to do it again, it was another bad drop at Silly Point. That was off Pat Cummins when he was on. He was in the teens, I reckon. Yeah. It was the last over before tea with Jadeja.
That one was tougher because it was low and it was quick, and but he was coming up too early, I suppose.
Yeah, he should have. Well, Simon KATICH is the best possible person to have next to you when you're on commentary for that, and he was like, you've got to, as he said, you've got to feel the burn in your quads, and he's like, I don't think Jaiswal feels the burn enough in his quads when he's up in close. He's starting up too high, and as we all know from when we're kids playing cricket, going up to down's so much harder than going down to up. So that's probably a technical thing for Jaiswal that made that look harder than it was when that should be regulation when in that position at test level. So, the 3 drop catches, Labuschagne's one of them, but gutsy, When the chaos was happening down the other end, he had to do a lot of heavy lifting off Bumrah at the second part of that spell, and at myriad other times. Bumrah bowled, I think, 10 spells today. He bowled 24 overs across 10 different spurts, and a lot of them were dealt with by Labuschagne. So 72 in the first dig, 70 in the second. Like I said the other day, I'm glad they persisted with him, because overall, after the first test, I advocated them leaving out because I thought he was just so in his own head. But fair play to the guy. He explained in great detail the technical changes he made before Adelaide, and he has had an influence in a series where ball has, for the most part, dominated back.
Yeah, and massive influence today. They're probably nowhere without him today. And then, the Lyon and Boland bit was strange. It was strange that it happened. It was strange that they said, Boland was quite happy facing Bumrah, who was more tired by that point, and just sort of everything seemed to be middled defensively, and he was just calmly doing that. Lyon a bit more aggressive. Boland at one point is 8 off 58, and now he's 10 off 60-something, whatever it is.
10 off 65.
Yeah, so he wasn't looking to score, but Lyon was looking to score a little bit more, but it was still slow. They batted through this slow period, and as is the case when, most of the time when there's a fourth innings coming, a lot of people wondering about declaration. What's the point of continuing to bat if you're just eating up overs? was Australia being too conservative in worrying about wanting to get past 300? They've got 3 sessions tomorrow. Do they want to make sure that the draw's kind of locked away, or that the Indian win is out of the question before they start pushing for an Australian win? Do they sort of reason that, well, we could win the test maybe in 70 overs, but we don't want to. We probably can't lose it in 70 overs if we're 300 and something ahead. What's the calculus? I just wasn't sure what to make of it.
I kind of had an opinion on this 20 minutes before stumps, and I don't know what I think anymore. Like, it's skewed by the 14 runs in the final over, which included, by the way, KO Rahul catching Bumrah between his shins or his ankles.
Off his hands and then down between his legs.
And then a front foot no ball called retrospectively upstairs.
So, which Bumrah would have had 5 for the innings, so he's still on 4. So just on the Bumrah stats, Bumrah views, if we're doing this, he got, 8 in Perth, 9 in Brisbane, it could still be 9 here if he gets the last wicket tomorrow morning, 4 in Adelaide. So if he gets the last one here, it takes him to 30 for the series, and 38's the record for Maurice Tate. So if he had a big game in Sydney, he could still take more wickets than any touring bowler who's come to this country.
Bisham Beatty picked up 31 when they won here under his leadership in 1977-78 across a 5-test match series as well. So
they went down in the 5th test, didn't they? They were 2 all going into the 5th in that series.
So that's another benchmark along the way, but he's been extraordinary. I hope he gets his 5th. At one point in that stretch, remembering there was that slightly anxious moment for Australia when Labuschagne's out, a couple of overs later, Stark's run out. Rishabh Pant, let's not completely gloss over the fact that was a great bit of fielding from Pant. Bit of indecision with Stark and Cummins. I don't think Stark saw Cummins sending him back, which he was perfectly right to do because there were never 2 there. Unless they turn blind.
Cummins is the one watching the ball, and Stark does turn back without really. He's turning for 2 the whole time, and Cummins is watching the ball and saying no with the hand up.
Yeah, but I don't think he saw him. He ran like 3 metres after the hand went up. Anyway, these things happen, run-outs happen, but the Punt having the presence to nail middle stump, I love that from Rishabh. I love it when Rishabh gets involved in the other discipline as well. I mean, at that point, they're 8 for 156. It's still 2 more quickies there, and all out 180 odd.
Yeah.
That would have, again, in a test match where things are happening quickly and things are happening almost counter-cyclically. Like, it's when you expect something to happen, something else plays out. That would have felt like India they were going to get a decent crack at it tonight. And then I thought at one point, around the last drinks break, they took the last drinks break with 42 minutes to go. And I thought, getting bowled out next ball's not a bad thing either. They'll get 30 minutes at them, 7 to 8 overs, acknowledging tomorrow's an extended day by 21 minutes. So it'll be more than 90. It'll be kind of 94, 95. So maybe that fed into the thinking as well. It's a little bit more than a full 3 sessions in the traditional sense, and they've got to get all the overs in, being the final day. But yeah, that partnership now, they've got 3 and over even. 55 from 110, and because the last over felt like such a rush, the thick edge to finish, 14 runs off Bumrah, which just seems impossible to do, the drop catch that wasn't, line reaching the 40s again, maybe they bat on, maybe they give him a chance to get to 50, like they probably declare, the job's probably done. But yeah, it means that we leave tonight, we go to the overnight, right? Remember Alex Bowden wrote about this a couple of years ago, the joy of overnight, amidst all of the chatter after Adelaide about 4-day test cricket being something that we should consider into the future. And on this show, we've taken the editorial view, I suppose you would say, that if we need 4-day test cricket to give us 3 test match series, we'll take it. But of course, we rather it be 5. Gives you 4 overnights. Gives you 4 overnights where things can rattle around in the minds of the players and the pundits alike, and everyone is watching along as well. And this overnight is one that feels a little bit different due to what happened in the very last over of the day. The joy of Test cricket.
Hall of Fame in a moment. CBUS Super before that. The superannuation fund that looks after you. That's what they do. It's their whole point. If you don't know what superannuation is, it's your retirement savings. It's the thing that your employer has to pay into, so you've got money to live on when you've finished working. And if you want a joint that's going to look out for you and try to help you and try to do the right thing, they're the one.
Make it a New Year's resolution. Coming up to New Year, get your super sorted out in 2025. cbussuper.com.au, their My Super default account. Average return across their 40 years of existence, 8.87%. Outstanding, but it's not a reliable indicator of future performance or past performance. However, cbussuper.com.au is the place to go to get your super sorted as we enter a new year. You're right, Jeff. Let's take a breather. Back in a moment with the Hall of Fame.
It is the final word. It's the Australia-India Daily. The Hall of Fame Kabaddi happened last night, so we're not going to tell you to go anymore, but we can tell you. We can tell you that it was a good time. We can tell you that the big rig rocked up. Shane Watson was there. We can tell you that it was Irfan Pathan, wasn't it? Who was hanging out with him doing the announcing. There was a bit of argy-bargy during the initial opening ceremony. They reenacted the Kohli-Constas shoulder bump to try to pretend that there was some controversy, a bit of ill feeling between the Australian team and the Indian team, but it wasn't the case. There was all good feeling in the end. As you know, a lot of tagging happened, a lot of tackling happened, and Australia's mostly former football. Darcy Heppel's still playing, isn't he?
No, they're all retired. Yeah,
is Heppel retired?
I think that was the conceit, that they had to be retired players to get a Guernsey. So they were shopping
was
for the newly retired.
Still playing for Essendon? Anyway,
Yeah.
whether I obviously don't follow the Essendon Football Club closely enough. Sorry, Bombers. But everybody had a good time.
I've got a 30-second summary of sorts.
Do you?
I do. Our Maurice Blackburn correspondent.
Okay.
It was rugby on a tennis court played by Aussie rules retirees. If you took up a standing spot at the back of the bay, you could focus on the action. You could barely hear the drums over the guy in the back row very confidently explaining Red's defensive tactics to his girlfriend, the rules he learned 20 minutes before. Australia had only scored the tackling points, none of the escape points.
Right.
Even though the Indian players played the warm-up game. Okay.
Yeah, they had a game, they had a match beforehand, and then they got into the big one.
Okay. Before the Bella Ciao synth remix came on just in time.
Oh.
Then a man in a tracksuit spun on his head and we all went home.
Bella Ciao synth.
It also featured a baffled King Shane Watson.
Yeah.
And a beaming Minister Tim Watts, who was at our live show the other night. Hello, Watson. So I'm seeing some photos of... it seemed like a belter of a night. So Australia went down by 17 points. But, as we said yesterday, it's all en route to have Kabaddi in the Olympic Games in 2032 at Brisbane.
Yep. The Bella Ciao bit was made famous by the Spanish Netflix show Money Heist, which is one of the great names for any kind of series. In Spanish, it's La Casa de Papel, which means the House of Paper, but I think that was too close to House of Cards. So they have to come up with a new name, and they're like, what's it about? It's about robbing the Royal Mint and stealing the money. Let's call it Money Heist.
Okay.
Does what it says on the tin.
Okay.
There is a heist of money. And then I watched the first season, I didn't watch the next 4. I'm going to assume in those 4, there were also heists of money in what continues to be called Money Heist. That's where Bella Ciao re-entered the popular consciousness after being a partisan song for the Italians against the Nazis in World War II.
Okay. So this was a resistance anthem.
Yeah, it's a resistance anthem that became a Euro club hit and is now being played at the Kabaddi.
Beautiful. Good to know. History lessons. There'll be more history lessons coming out.
It's the farewell to your lover.
There'll be more history lessons on Storytime 213.
Yep.
Which is coming up in the special final word number. We'll be doing that as soon as the test match is over, releasing it probably the 2nd of January. But, we'll be back on that horse soon.
Yep.
Hall of Fame moments for the most Hall of Fame moment of the day.
The most Hall of Fame moment.
Can I read my handwriting here?
I don't know, can you?
Here we go. Stark's run out was the first Australian run out of 2024. They left it to the fourth last wicket to have a run out in 2024. Bumrah 200. We've done a fair bit of that already, but 70 wickets at 14 this year. Nobody's taken more than 65 wickets in a calendar year at a lower average than this. This is an all-time year. When you consider Bumrah only returned to Test cricket, 14, 15 months ago? What a guy.
How did Sam Constas strain a forearm muscle playing a shot to a backward point?
It wasn't even highlights from day one.
Yeah, it was the suggestion. He might have taken a leaf out of Shubman Gill's book and up too late with the iPad, just watching his 60, just watching get the KO Mini, do the full bit.
Speaking of Constas, I realised we missed out on a great commentary line the other day where we could have said, Sam Constas has had the best 30 minutes at the G for a Greek bloke since the 99 prelim. Aha!
I don't get it.
Yes, you do. Kudo, 99 prelim.
Oh, Kudo Fidis, yeah. Okay, got it.
Best quarter of footy ever played.
He ran for mayor, didn't he, of this strike?
He didn't get up.
No, he didn't get up.
He ran, sure you were that.
He ran for Lord Mayor. It's like the end of his career when both the knees were going. Just couldn't get up anymore.
What have I got here? Oh, yeah, Scott Boland has faced more balls today than Mitch Marsh has in his last 3 test matches combined. Should we do that really quickly? I feel like we skipped over it in the main bit of the show.
Which bit?
The Marsh bit.
The Marsh bit? No.
Horrible Marsh bit.
Time. I think we do that tomorrow.
He's averaged 18 this year with the bat in 2024. No one wants this. No, this is the definition of shooting Bambi stuff, but it's probably time.
And I think we'll come to it tomorrow. All I will say, which is Hall of Fame worthy, is Sam Jordan, our colleague, who it was after the second test, I think he asked Mitchell Marsh's question at the presser was, everyone else in the top 7 has got out to Bumrah, you're the only one who hasn't, what's going on? And Mitchell Marsh deadpan back at him and said, it's coming. It's coming, was his only response. And he's got out during 3 of the last 4 times. So, Sam, not going to blame you for that, but that did happen. That was entertaining.
I realise now I've got a note taken from something I was going to do on comms, but it's relevant more to this now. The lead's gone beyond 332, which is the highest fourth innings chase here, the test where England won the Ashes in 28-29 here at the G when Sutcliffe made 135. And that's still, that was the world record at the time. And yes, they won that test match by 1 wicket. A thrilling finish in Bradman's first series, and who's to know? If you like these things, if you're into this kind of stuff, maybe it'll be a 1-wicket victory tomorrow.
Okay,
hey,
I've got one more thing.
I
got one more thing. What do you predict? A tie?
What do you reckon I'm going to predict?
Tie?
Tie. Tomorrow, I'll say it down the barrel of the camera so we can clip up if it goes right. Tomorrow will be the 3rd tie in Test match history. There you go.
Magic. We'll just do that every single time from now on. The last bit I've got is that I'm pretty sure, unless I'm misremembering, that the 2 umpires in this match have not had a single decision overturned. Am I wrong? India burned all of theirs.
Yep.
Australia burned theirs in the innings before that. So I don't think there's been an overturn. There have been a couple of umpires call, which could go either way. But that means Joel Wilson, maligned, pilloried, currently clean sheet, flawless. Just day 5 to go, Joel. We believe in you.
It's the first Joel clean sheet.
The Angels did sing.
Well, we will, and good on him, because cops a lot of shit, Joel. Cops a lot of shit, and he's done a lot of things that have beggared belief out in the middle, but he always is high up on those ICC charts they release, or the ones we get told about. And this week, he's validating his spot on the panel in a very
How about Shafadullah with the edge that was 10 up to the 3rd umpire, where the ball just came off the edge of the bat, and
he was clearly out, and he gave it like,
no, it hit the ground. Well, it hit the ground before it came up off the edge of the bat. If it touches the bat and the ground at the same time and then rolls up to the bat and then comes off the bat's the last thing it touched.
Specialist TV umpires. Shafidullah's umpiring next week, by the way. He's the specialist umpire. I think Joel's upstairs.
Yeah, okay. Loves it upstairs, Joel. We've still got the orange sunglasses on. Can kick back. That's it. Are we done?
Oh, I forgot my sunnies. They're bloody good, though.
Yeah, 10% off.
At t20vision.com/finalword. Get your discount. I wear them all the time. They're great.
In the show notes, you can find it. I think that's it. That's the daily. If you want to get involved with what we're doing, patreon.com/thefinalword. Come and hang out. Get involved.
Buy the shirt. Jeff's wearing the new shirt.
There aren't many podcasts.
Shirt. There aren't many podcasts that have merch that relates to someone getting venereal disease in 1925.
That is true.
We're that kind of podcast when Wally Hammond broke his cock rooting in the Caribbean. Read about it. Well, more to the point, listen to our podcast. Wally Hammond's Caribbean Tours, Memories to Last a Lifetime. Inquire about Wally's travel insurance. Full coverage means extra protection. That's us done.
That's the message. Extra protection. Always tarp up. We'll see you next time.
Tie tomorrow.